Okay, here's what I have to say for today. What I have to say for today is voting is unfair. What I have to say for today is voting is unfair. Why is voting unfair? You know, it's the majority rules, and we all voted. You know, the greater group of people won. Everyone played by the rules. Majority rules. Well, you see, here's the thing. Majority rules. That means the bigger group of people that voted this way get to roll over and have their way over the lesser group of people that voted this other way. And that's not fair. Why? Because the majority gets to force its will on the minority. The minority lost. The minority didn't get their way. You know, you had a winning side, you had a losing side. And that's not fair, you know. The majority's like, we won, suck our dick. And I'm like, well, everybody should win. Everybody should win in society to get their own way of how to live their life. And there shouldn't be a losing team when it comes to being able to win. There shouldn't be a losing team when it comes to being able to live your life how you want it. And voting is the antithesis to this. It breaks it. In voting, someone has to win. And that person that wins, or those group of people that win, the group that wins, they get to force their way on everyone. Not only on themselves, but the losing team. It's like, we won. Our president won, our candidate won, so you all have to be rolled under him. So the minority, they get to lose, they get the short end of the stick, or maybe you could even say they didn't even get that, but the point is they lost. Minority lost, majority won, majority gets to rule, they get to control. And, with voting, it's basically a game of getting the most people on your side to roll over everyone. You have government, you have voting, people have to lose in this system. And in anarcho-capitalism, nobody has to lose. We can all win. We can all win. We just need to do it without voting. We can all win to live our lives the way we want to. We just have to do it by not having a government and voting with our wallets rather than the polls, with our voting booths, with our voting machines. So anyways, if voting is unfair despite everyone playing by the rules, nobody rigging the machines or double voting or cheating or whatever, everyone played by the rules, then how is it still unfair? You know, everyone played the game by the same terms. One side won, every game was a winner or a loser. How is it still unfair? Well, you see, the game itself is unfair. And what is this game of voting that's unfair even comparable to? Well, here's what I compare it to. I compare it to gladiatorial matches like the Romans had at least a couple thousand years ago. That's what I compare it to. Why? Because in gladiatorial matches, there were rules, and everyone followed them. At least, you know, under normal conditions. The slaves had to fight. Sorry. The slaves had to fight. People bet who would win on the games. You know, certainly nothing was rigged, and no slave had a hidden weapon that he wasn't supposed to have. Everyone played by the rules. But why was this unfair? Well, because it's an unethical game in the first place. I mean, you're pitting people against their will, against each other, to kill each other. And while the slaves can abide by the rules, as well as the people that run the game, and the people that bet on the slaves, it's still an unfair game. Nobody should have to be forced to fight against another person, let alone be enslaved and do it for money. That's what voting's like. It's a bit less bloody, but it's still an unethical game. Regardless, one side gets to win, one side gets to lose, one side gets to rule, one side gets to be ruled. And that's not fair. Everyone should rule over themselves. And voting doesn't allow that. It allows other people to rule over you. And voting is still unfair even if you vote in favor for something. Like, look at gay marriage. If you vote in favor, first let me go say it like this. If you vote against gay marriage, you're being unfair because you're exerting your will and the government's will on a group of people, on a group of consenting adults that just happen to be the same sex or in love. You're saying, oh, I don't approve of this, so I'm going to vote so the government can force my disapproval of this onto you. And that's a dick move. It's like, it's none of your business what people do. They're consensual, mutually beneficial, kind, safe relationships. So, you shouldn't be able to vote that way on this. Okay, that's why voting against gay marriage is unfair. But why is voting for gay marriage? Why is voting for gay marriage still unfair? It's like you're voting for it. You're giving hope, an opportunity, a chance for people to be able to get together. Even if they happen to be of the same sex, why is that unfair? Well, you see, that's the thing. You're giving them the chance, the opportunity to get together, you see, according to what the government says of your approval onto them. You see, you're basically saying, yeah, I approve of this relationship, and I'll vote to have the government approve this relationship over you. You see, basically saying, if the gay couple wants to do this, then they need my approval, They have my approval, and to make my approval explicit, I'm gonna vote for this. I'm gonna vote for this. And that's not fair. You shouldn't be able to vote against it because it's none of your business, and you shouldn't be able to vote for it because it's none of your business. Gay marriage should just be legal by default. It should just be left alone and available by default. It shouldn't be up to a vote, okay? Nothing like this should be up to a vote. People should be able to just do what they want without having to jump through hoops or red tape to be able to do it. They shouldn't need the approval of their neighbors to do something that only concerns them in a consensual, healthy way. So, voting, even if played by the rules, is an inherently unfair game, unethical game, and whether or not you vote for something or against something, you're requiring that people go for you go for me, in order to be able to do this. I mean, look at gun control as well. If you vote for gun control, you're basically saying, you can't have these guns. I don't like these guns. You can't have them. I vote this way, so you can't have your guns. Okay. What if you vote for gun rights? Okay, you're basically saying, yeah, I support guns. I'll tell the government that, so they let you keep them. Well, you shouldn't have to have approval of guns for people to be able to own guns, and you shouldn't have to beg the government for your rights. Voting is also basically a form of begging. Please, government, we all voted on this. Please hold to your word and let us have what we voted for. You shouldn't need that. You shouldn't need to vote for your Second Amendment rights. You should just have them by default. The Second Amendment isn't up to a vote, and it's a right that it's a right that exists regardless of the Constitution. You see, the Constitution / Bill of Rights isn't an approval of rights. It isn't a grantor of rights. It's merely a list. It's a list of rights, which you already have by default from birth, from God, from nature, from whatever. You already have the rights. You had the rights regardless of the Constitution. You had the rights before the Constitution. Constitution was just the founding fathers deciding what are the most important rights to be made explicit and to be written down. And the Ninth Amendment says, like, even if there are some rights not explicitly listed in the Bill of Rights, you still have them. So, even if it's just because they're not listed there, doesn't mean you don't have it, okay? It's just a list. It's just a basic rundown list to, remind the government, hey, you can't take this away in particularly. So you can't take these rights. These are rights. They exist. They exist regardless of this document, but since they're so important, since we think these are the most important, we're going to list them. And to remind you not to take them. And people get the wrong idea that the Second Amendment was the founding fathers giving us permission to own guns, arms, weapons, whatever. It wasn't them giving permission to. It was just them stating, hey, we have the right to do this, okay? Constitution, the Bill of Rights part, at least, is not an instruction manual for government. It's basically just a leave this shit alone list for government. Leave this shit alone, in particular, for government. Government needs to leave this shit alone. It needs to let you say what you want to say. It needs to let you own what weapons you want to own. It needs to let you have a speedy trial and, have other rights that aren't even listed. It needs to just leave you alone. So, it doesn't grant you rights. It's supposed to protect them, in fact, by explicitly listing them. So the government knows in particular, hey, this is what you can do, back off. So, yeah, voting is unfair. Voting is an ethical game. It's also a form of begging. Voting for or against someone is requiring unjust approval. That's why voting isn't cool. At least governmental voting. Voting with your wallet, that's just fine. Voting, with a group of friends, where to go for a restaurant, that's just fine. Because it just concerns your closely allied group, which is your friends. You're not really forcing your way of life on other people. Like you are with voting. You see, society is a loose group and your friends are a tight group. Society, not everyone's your friend, obviously. Not everyone likes you or cares about you. It's just a group of people because it's a number and clumping a group of people. That's all society is a clump of people, a clump of individuals. That's the only thing that makes them a group, is hey, they're all together, there's multiple of them, it's a group. Whereas your friends are people you're allied with. You're doing this as a team, as a group, so you should have voting there, but not for another group. You can't just vote for another group of people and they have to go to this restaurant, because this is just between you guys, not them. Whereas voting is like, okay, everyone has to do what we say, because we won. So, not everyone can reach consensus, so you have voting for a group of friends, but as for voting for policy, public policy, that's not fair. So, that's why, that's one big reason ANCAPs such as myself are against government, because it involves voting, and involves unfairly, inherently controlling the lives of others in ways you really shouldn't be controlling their lives. Yes. I guess that's it.